I'm always thinking about the sustainable nature. Okay, we shouldn't do the whole advertising this. We've sold our electricity at the pyramids.
Good evening, everyone. Could everyone mute their electronic devices to avoid feedback? If you're remote participants, please keep their cameras and microphones off unless they wish to speak, as this can affect the quality of the meeting. The meeting will be live cast, webcast, and recordings will stay on the council's website and YouTube. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's hybrid Sheppey Area Committee meeting, including anyone attending remotely. The following Scarborough Council officers will be in attendance: with the Director of Regeneration Neighbourhoods, Emma Wiggins, online, Director of Resources, Lisa Billery, online. We have the LGR Project Officer, Louise Galloway, to my right, and Janet Dart, the Policy Engagement Officer, also to my right. We also have in attendance Councillor Mike Baldock, who's the Vice Chair of the Community and Governance Review Steering Group. And as of yet, we've had no KCC councillors. I see a number of parish councillors around the room. We have Mike Brown from East Church. We have Ben Pointing from Minster Parish Council, John Nolan from Minster Parish Council. We have Linda Brink online from Sheerness Town Council, Pat Sandler from Malden Parish Council online, James Morrison from Malden in the room. If anyone in the room would like to speak, please raise your hand and come forward so that you can be picked up on the recording. Agenda item 1 is the emergency evacuation procedure. We're not expecting an alarm tonight, so if there's an alarm, we'll leave by the fire exits and assemble out front. Please do not return until instructed to do so. Is there anyone in the room who needs assistance? Please indicate now. No? Okay. Agenda item 2 is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies, Janet?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Andy Booth, Councillor Hayden Braun, but he is online. Councillor Leanne Moore, and Councillor Mike Whiting. We've also got Councillor Mark Tucker online. I haven't heard from Councillor Harrison, Councillor Neal, Councillor Shield, or Councillor Worcester. They may be joining us a bit later. Thank you.
Next up, do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of September 2025, minutes number 319 to 330 as a correct record?
Agree.
Okay, I'll sign on in a minute. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No, okay. Next up, we have agenda item 5, which is the budget for 2026-27. And we have the Director of Resources, Lisa Billery, who's joined us online to talk about the Swalborough Council budget for that period. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, as Elliot's already said, I am Lisa Billery. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the Council. My title is Director of Resources, and I am bringing you the budget that was agreed to go to consultation at the Policy and Resources meeting last Wednesday night. Thanks, Janet. So the financial challenge that the Council has for this coming year, we must set a legally balanced budget. That is my legal and statutory responsibility to ensure that the Council has a balanced budget position. We're not allowed to set a budget that doesn't balance, unlike other other organisations. That is our legal requirement as a local authority. We've got rising costs due to inflation and high demand for services, and we've got the hyperinflation that we saw a few years ago. That's been baked into our base budget. So the annual increases that we're seeing for lower inflation now, but are on top of the high position that we had a few years ago. For us, it costs us around £1.6 million just to stand still. So when we add inflation to our major contracts, such as the waste contract and the grounds maintenance and our street cleaning and some of our shared service contracts, that is the cost without us actually changing anything to do with any of our service levels. So and to put that in context, we can, from our council tax, we can raise about 400 and odd thousand for that. So you can see the gap. That's why we have to make decisions to either increase our income or make savings, because otherwise our budget will not balance. So the council tax increase referendum limit is still for local authorities at 3%. Anything over that we have to go to referendum, or £5, which is greater. So for most local authorities in the country now, £5 is way less than the 3%. And so 3% is the maximum that we can increase our council tax by. And in fact, government expect us to do that to maximise our resources. When they're doing our funding assessments, they take into account the most amount of money that we can raise from that. For 25-26, that's the current financial year. The Band D council tax collected by us is £2,262.84, but of that, only Swale Borough Council can keep £206.64. That figure doesn't include the parish precepts either, so we collect most of the money that we take for council taxes on behalf of other people. As I've already said, the legacy and hyperinflation costs is in the base budget, so that's why the gaps have arisen in the past. And so we need to make decisions, or our members need to make decisions to raise income or make savings to increase those rising costs. This year, as every year, we do have an uncertain position on government funding, but this year it is the stakes are a little bit higher because of the fair funding review that was consulted on over the summer and the business rates reset. Swale Borough Council has seen significant growth in business rates across the district for the last few years, well, since 2013-14, when localisation of business rates happened. The reset has been happening since 2012, 22-23, and we still haven't happened, but it's happening this year, coupled with the fair funding review. So our position is even more uncertain than it normally is. So this budget at the moment assumes a neutral position on those two elements of our funding, but that could change, and if once we get the details, which will be in the week before Christmas, we will update the budget accordingly. Thanks, Janet. So the timetable for our budget process for next financial year started in June, where the council created a cross-party budget working group, where all group leaders were invited to attend and have been working together over the summer and autumn to deliver the budget that was the draft budget that was put to Policy and Resources last week. So over this period from June to September, they agreed the principles of the budget build, so things how to increase fees and charges, the pay award assumptions, and to assess known changes to the budget position. During September, heads of service met with the members of the budget working group to review the proposed budget changes. That was then updated with the final draft position put to Policy and Resources last week. It was approved for consultation, and the budget consultation went live on the 27th, and that will run until the 8th of January. During that period, Parish Council Liaison Forum tax briefing is also tonight. My colleague Claire Stanbury is talking to some of your Parish Council colleagues there to talk about your own council tax precept position. Your deadline for getting your parish precepts back is the 16th of January. As I've already said, we're expecting the provisional settlement for the 15th, the week commencing the 15th of January, and we will be able to update the budget position to at least know what our government funding is intended to be. We will review, I'm jumping around a bit. We'll review the budget consultation once it's closed, and then we will finalise the budget based on the information that we've got from government. Budget working group will meet to finalise the budget proposals and assess the feedback from the consultation. And then on the 4th of February, the Policy and Resources Committee will see the proposed final budget, which will be recommended to full council, who will set the budget and the council tax on the 18th of February. Thank you, Janet. So the key messages that we have for this year's budget, that we have the new approach to the budget build with a cross-party working group, The estimated budget gap as things stand is £665,000, and that takes into account all of the proposals for increases in fees and charges and savings and other income proposals within that figure. As I've already said, it assumes a neutral position on the government grant and the business rates reset, which is a massive risk because it's such an unknown and because the figures are so high. Our estimated budget gap peaks at £2.3 million in 28-29, plus the uncertain government grants of another 2.9 million. And as I've already said, it costs us 1.6 million to stand still. Reserves will help us set a balanced budget. At the moment, that's what the gap, the 665,000 is proposed to be funded from reserves, but that is not a way to balance the budget on an ongoing basis. It's not sustainable, and once it's gone, it's gone. So for ongoing costs, we should be finding ongoing solutions. We need to identify more savings and additional income to make the budget sustainable over the medium term. So that budget gap position is not sustainable. We will go bust if the government funding is not resolving the gap, and if decisions are not taken to help us bridge that gap annually between what our costs increase by and what we're able to raise our income at. So the whole budget is based on a number of assumptions at this stage, which can and will change, and we will update, as I've already said, when we have more certain information later in the year and early into next. So it's important for you to understand that the budget, that the council has two separate budgets, that they can't legally be mixed up. So we've got the revenue budget and the capital budget. The revenue budget is our day-to-day services. That's the budget where we have the gap. So that's where we collect the bins, manage the beach huts. These are my fancy pictures, and monitor the CCTV as well as everything else. That's just some examples of what our revenue funding is. Where capital is for the provision of long-term projects that will last for longer than a year, and we're not legally allowed to use our capital funding to support our revenue budget. We can use revenue for capital, but we can't do it the other way around. So that's for things like the house building project. Last year we bought the new vehicles for our waste contract, and the LUF project that is ongoing at the moment they're all capital funded projects. Thank you, Janet. So this table shows the revenue budget position over the next few years. It's what's in the budget reports. 25-26 is the current year, where we're planning to use £677,000 from reserves. And as you can see for next year, that's 665, and then it goes up and up as our costs increase and the assumptions on our revenue and income remains static. So that position will change once we find out what our business rate and revenue support grant position will be, and some certainty on some other grants that we have got from government. The proposal is for this new fair funding review is to roll as many of the little grants in as possible, so that we're not having to manage and maintain and report on lots of grants and bid for lots of different grants, and that they are all rolled into our ongoing annual funding. Thank you, Janet. So the changes that are in the budget to show that they're the services that we are grouped together by heads of service and shared services. And in some areas like the pay and inflation, we don't split that down during the budget build process. So that's a line on its own that will be redistributed across services as the contract uplifts are calculated. So we've got 2.3 million, 2.4 million pounds worth of growth built in, which is then offset by savings and income proposals to show that we are giving us that net position of the £665,000 take from reserves. The details of all of this are in the budget papers. So in order to balance our budget, we need to find savings or generate new income. This means that there needs to be some difficult trade-offs. So in the proposals that are in the report, to generate income to fund services such as the parks and street cleansing, and that's the day-to-day revenue side of things, the council plans to increase our share of council tax by 2.96%. The reason that we don't round it up to the 2.99% is because of that odd pennies then make it non-divisible by 9, which is what it should be, because the band D and then all of the bands up and down from that are all proportions of ninths. So that is an increase for Swale of £6.12 a year, which is less than 12p a week. And as I've already said, we get to keep very little of the amount that we collect. So every pound we collect in council tax on behalf of everyone else, we get to keep 9p of that. So the proposed changes to fees and charges include 10p increase on hourly parking and removal of the 30-minute current charge. And to help balance those proposals, a new flat rate evening fee of £2.50 and a reduction in all-day parking charges is also proposed for some of the longer stay car parks. There's also a proposal to review external grants to save £20,000 and then £160,000 for reviewing how we do things internally, including services provided at the Faversham office, how we run our customer services, and providing in-house services in-house that are currently outsourced. The capital budget is predominantly grant funded or reserve funded. These is the proposals for the current year and for next year. There are some significant budgets that have been approved in previous years, but the projects haven't yet started. And so, although, for example, the local affordable housing project, which was agreed in 1920, is actually still working up proposals on the viability, and so that is proposed at the moment to go ahead in 26-27, subject to government grant funding. But that was one. So with the capital programme, if it's not spent in the year, then we roll it forward, because it is generally a one-off type of project where it is, the timing is not always as evident as like the annual cost of our waste contract, for example. So it's some of these projects that are in the current year. If they're not delivered on time, then that will slip into the next financial year. But the provision is already in the budget to fund that if it's coming from reserves or from grant funding. If it's borrowing, then that is the impact on the revenue budget, where we have to pay an annual principal repayment and the interest charges on that. So that is how the capital projects that we fund ourselves are paid for. Thank you, Janet. So the high level budget position is that we're currently anticipating a gap, as I've already said several times, of £665,000 for 26-27. The budget pressures are almost entirely a result of inflation and utility costs. There is some increased demand for services, with the cost of service provision increasing. For example, homelessness, the cost of the temporary accommodation goes up, even though we have been trying to manage the demand down. The service providers put the costs up, and so the costs are still increasing. We've got some increased income from a number of services for both fee charges and increases in activity. Operational efficiencies being made by all teams as an ongoing review of how we do things, and as things change, we try and update our efficiencies within our team. We're currently using a business rates growth pool, where we are in a pool with KCC and several of our other district councils in Kent. That will be coming to an end this financial year with the business rate reset. The pooling position is not clear, and so with that uncertainty, the pool is going to disband for a year and then see what happens next year. With the continued one-year settlements and uncertainty about grant funding, we're hoping that will end this year, that we will get a bit more certainty for years 2 and 3 of the budget cycle. We've just had a one-year settlement for the past 3 or 4 years, so we have literally just been able to set 1 year's budget and not plan so far ahead. So with the business rates and the grants reset, we're hoping that we will get a little bit more certainty for a couple more years than just the year ahead. And as I have already said, the budget gap peaks in 28-29 at about £5.1 million if we take both the budget gap of 2.3 million and the loss of grant funding, or the uncertain grant funding, of 2.9 million. as I've said, the draft budget was approved for consultation at Policy and Resources last week. The consultation will run until the 9th of January, and the link to fill it in can be found at swale.gov.uk/budget-consultation. Have you got any questions?
Does anyone in the room have any questions?
Can answer.
Is anyone online have any? Anyone online have any questions about budget? We do have a question in the room. Councillor Mundy.
Yeah, thank you. So that was a really informative presentation, and I think it's nice to see that, because sometimes when you're just trying to read through stuff on your own, it can be a bit overwhelming and things can get lapsed. Yeah, obviously I don't agree with the parking charges and the increase or the parking charges that are going to be introduced. But when you talk about the £160,000 of operational savings, could you give a bit more information about how that's going to work? Is that through things like natural wastage? That's a horrible way of describing stuff, by the way. It's just
No, so these savings, no, none of these are staff savings within that 160,000. So it's a review of how we're doing some things in-house. So we've currently got some teams that have an external consultancy budget to support the work that they do. We're proposing to remove those and do it in-house. So things might take a little bit longer, but the programme of work is still scheduled to be there. We are reviewing our customer service operation. You may all well know that there was a big consultation about our customer service and customer engagement processes. So that's following up on some of that, and reviews about the Faversham office and whether that should remain open. It's that kind of thing. So it is, in some cases it's really small deficiencies when someone's offering up their subscription budget, a few hundred £100 here and there, but it all adds up. So it's that kind of thing. It's the operational efficiencies that all add up.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, is there any allowance made for the considerable amount of house building which has gone on by splitters and builders throughout Swale? So obviously when houses are built and then hopefully occupied, they will be paying council tax. So have we got any idea the sort of percentage that these houses are likely to bring in?
Yes, the budget does include an increase for our council tax assumptions on growth, but it also the council tax base. Oh God, you might regret asking this question because it's really boring. The council tax base figure is made up of all of the different bands, and then so it's not just the number of properties in each band. There are then calculations required for the single person discount required that is being claimed in all of those bands as well, and also the premiums and discounts that are applicable for both council tax support and some premiums for empty properties and things like that. So it's not just a case of one property in, we get X amount of council tax from that, and then also don't forget we will also incur additional costs. So for all of the new houses that we get, then the waste contract costs are changed to take account of that as well. So it's not 100% council tax that we can just spend on that we get to keep. They've got commitments towards those spends as well. But yes, that does form part of the calculation on the tax base on our assumptions on how much council tax we're going to raise for the year.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, thank you, Lisa and Claire, for your attendance, and you're welcome to leave or stay. Members, during that item we become in quorum. Member has gone walkabouts. I'm going to advise you take up to a 10-minute break unless I can find them quicker than that. Or I can find another member to attend, but if not, we'll have to suspend the meeting. But hopefully the officers will stay and brief us regardless. So we'll take up to 10-minute break from now. Time is 19:24. And let me see if I can find a member to drag in.
How many do we need to be quorum?
You've got 4.
Right, we're resuming the meeting. The time is 19:27. We moved on to agenda item, rearrange the agenda. So agenda item 7, the community governance review update, and we
Tom's
have.
gone. Tom's gone.
We'll wait for councillor Monday.
I still think they count online.
You didn't get out the door, so you didn't pass me.
We've been within for minutes. Oh, we've got slides to this.
Yeah, yes.
Are you going to manage that? Because I don't know what's on your slide.
Well, what you did at Weston, you gave an introduction, and then Lou, you just want to sort of run through the slides, just to double check that there's nothing missed. Yeah. That worked by last week.
Was this advertised as a hybrid meeting?
Yes. Oh no, the agenda doesn't say that, but my notes do.
It was advertised as a hybrid meeting, then the whole point is that councillors online do count to the floor. Because you can't make decisions.
Right,
Hey.
we resume the meeting. So we're on agenda item 7, the community governance review update. Got councillor Mike Baldock, the vice chair of the community governance review member steering group, and he's going to give us a update and presentation. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks. Don't leave. The community governance review is possibly the biggest shake-up of local government in Wales since 1974. But it won't have a huge effect on the island, as most of the island is parished, with the exception of the halfway area. But what we're doing across the whole of Swale is asking existing parishes if they want to change boundaries, if they want to merge, if they want to change their names, like I know that we've got one on Sheppey wanting to do. It's that opportunity to reconstitutionalise the parish councils. From a Sittingbourne perspective, Sittingbourne Town doesn't have its own town council. Faversham, Sheerness do. So we're asking people if they think that having a Sittingbourne Town Council would be beneficial. I know that in Halfway, all the surrounding councils have expressed an interest in taking over Halfway. Also, maybe the people of Halfway might like their own council. So it's about asking the people what they would like. Now, this is the first consultation, so we're going out with a range of ideas, a range of proposals. We want as good a feedback as possible so that when we go out with the second round of consultations in the late spring, we have a concrete idea of what people actually want. Then we can consult on that. Then it will come back to the full council to make a final decision. The more information that comes in this first round of consultations means it's better we are able to actually get a definitive answer in the second round. So we'll be asking people in Halfway, do you want to be part of Minster? Do you want to be part of Sheerness? Do you want to be part of Greenborough? Do you want your own council? Do you just not want to stay? You want to stay unparished? Once we get that feedback, we can ask a definitive, is this what you want? A single yes or no question for the second round, and then we can vote on that. It's also an opportunity to say, if there are some areas which really don't feel like they belong in a parish, belong in the parish next door. You can tidy up some of the boundaries, tidy up some of the streets, say, you know, there's some areas where one half of the street is in one parish, another half of the street is in another parish. Is there a benefit to, you know, putting the whole street in one parish, or does that actually cause more problems? A lot of the parishes date back to 1894, 1896, when the parishes were set up, and a lot of the boundaries still reflect what was done then. We also, of course, have had a load of unwanted housing dumped across Swale, and sometimes they cross parish boundaries. We have on the mainland, there's the Bobbing parish boundary actually goes in the middle of houses. So you go in the front door, you're in a parish, you come out the back door, you're not in a parish. So it's time to tidy those things up as well. And this is all in the context of the local government review, where the government is forcing Swale to merge with other councils into these huge councils that will have very little local identity. So the parishes and the towns are where we get our identity, where we get our local voices. So it's really important that we, you know, support parish councils and support town councils and give them the opportunity to have their voice and get things done in their area. So it's about going out, talking to people, explaining what parish councils do, explaining to the people of Halfway what parish councils can do. And yes, there is an extra charge. There's always an extra charge, but it means that people actually have a control over what happens in their area that maybe at the moment they don't, and which under unitaries, we're quite worried we're going to have even less of a say. So that's what the community governance review is. Now, Louise will tell you the bits I missed out.
No.
And I'm happy to have any questions.
I think probably we could just skip to slide 5, Janet, if we could. Just to advise that a cross-party member steering group's been set up to manage the community governance review, oversee the community governance review.
CGR, two up.
Slide 5, I think we could go to. And so the group's produced in terms of reference, which will be published on the 17th of December on the Swale Borough Council website. And then the first stage consultation, we're hoping will go live on the 18th of December. And built into the terms of reference are the two main objectives that the representations are being considered against. So to support the identities and interests of communities, like Mike was saying, and support effective and convenient local government. And then I don't think there was actually anything else that wasn't covered. If we just go to the last slide, just the key points, slide 8. The first stage consultation will be shared widely. Obviously, there are some parts of the review that potentially, like with Warden and the name change, it's going to be down to those local areas to really make sure that we get the consultation out to those residents who might not see it on social media, who might not see it on the other ways that we're going to push the message out there. But you know, so we'll ask all of you to support in that process. Any questions, anything like that crops up, you can obviously ask now, but you can also email cgr@swale.gov.uk and we will endeavour to get the answer to you. Everything with you, Jan.
Okay, I've got 2 people to ask questions. Mike Brown?
Yes, thank you. Assuming everything that Mark said is right, the parishes and town councils conduct their own consultations and come up with what they would like to happen, who makes the final decision of actually what will happen? Is that Swale Borough Council? Yeah.
The full council of members, yeah.
Okay. That's what I was, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Lundy?
Thank you. Yes, I think this is really important. Thank you for that presentation. Because at the moment there are 14 councillors on the island that represent various different areas at borough council level. Well, actually, once you've had local government review, there might only be two, and there will only be that level of local authority. Below that, it will just be parish and towns council. So I think this is something really important for people to push to residents to actually complete the survey. My question is, on the island, obviously halfway is currently unparished. So how will that vote work? So will the people of halfway vote to say if they want to form a parish council or join another one? And what will happen if they vote to join a parish council, but that existing parish council says that they don't want them?
You want me to?
Yeah.
This is for the first round of consultations, and we'll be discussing these specific matters at a working group tomorrow. But what I would expect is that we would ask the people of halfway, 5 options. Do you want to be part of 3 other councils that have indicated they want to, would be interested in taking over? Do they want to form their own parish council, or do they want to go it alone? Now, if all the responses from, say, the streets around Queenborough are we would like to go with Queenborough, and the rest of the responses are no, we want our own parish council, then in the second round of consultations we can ask those specific questions. But instead of asking stuff that didn't get any support in the first round, we can go down, focus on what has had support and ask specific final questions. And then, that'll be reported back. There'll be a recommendation to full council based on those consultation responses. But if there is an argument, you might get an argument that an estate in Halfway doesn't want to be part of Halfway Parish Council, but the rest of Halfway does, then it's quite possible that we would say the whole of Halfway becomes the parish council, and the fact that there is an estate that didn't want it would make it would not be a realistic proposal to just leave that.
No, of course not. Thank you.
Councillor Worcester.
So my concern is, and I've raised it with the consultation group already, is that actually a lot of this consultation stuff is about the residents of Halfway. What is really needed as well is through this process is a way of actually getting the viewpoints of those residents that already sit in towns and parishes that Halfway may or may not be joining. And whether or not that falls down to a town or parish to do that, there does need to be some reflective way that those people already that are part of that town and parish have a way of a voice of saying, actually, yes, we completely agree that Halfway does have some very similar needs to Queenborough or Minster or whatever. It would be a good idea for them to join, because there will be costs associated with going forward. And one of those costs, it may seem very small, but for example, parish and towns are responsible for their own election costs, which is not something that is obviously thought about or has been discussed at any of the meetings so far. Halfway, it's that sort of cost that, for instance, we should be really upfront about to make sure that it isn't just about what Halfway needs, it's about what is best for the areas in general. So anything that working group can do or consultation group can do, maybe to point existing towns and parishes, so that we can also support by maybe utilising some of the resources that we already have, for example, our Facebook pages or our websites, to say, actually, this is a method. If you are really, really in favour and you really want Halfway to join SHINS, for example, then there's a way that sort of information can be fed in, and vice versa. If there's a way that actually, if you're really against it and you think that there's going to be some questions from both sides, then we just want to make sure that both sets of voices are heard, rather than it being imposed. Because the idea about this towns and parish stuff is that we've tried really hard on the island to break down the barriers that have been created by postcodes. And I don't want to see the Halfway push or any of the pushes for towns and parishes dividing communities anymore. We want to make sure that everybody kind of goes forwards together.
Okay, James?
Yeah, I have a twofold question in actual fact. How do you become a member of the consultation committee and is parish councils allowed to? And the other one is, could you please come to Warden Parish Council and explain a bit more to us?
I'll certainly do that
If that's acceptable.
if you've got one in time, yeah. I'll
We've got
certainly.
one on Thursday.
I've got another meeting Thursday. I've got two actually. But yeah, I'm more than happy to come out to parishes during the whole process and talk to people. The working group is just made up of borough councillors. Obviously, because we've got like 27 parish councils in Swale. To get delegates from all of them it would have taken too long. And then you'd only, the turnout would be sporadic. We've had to meet quite a lot in a short period of time. So the idea is to actually encourage the parishes to speak and to feed into this process. I think we'd like them to feed in a little bit more than they have been. So hopefully in this first consultation, we'll get a bit more of a feed in. Because at the end of the day, they are the people who are speaking for their community. That's the voice that the community have got, and we ought to listen to it. But to listen to it, we need them to speak. And it's really getting parishes to start responding and towns.
Totally agree. Thank you.
Next up online, we've got Linda Brinklow.
Yeah, I actually live in Halfway. I might not be living here much longer, but I'm really concerned about the fact that I think you said that you're only going to do the consultation online. When I think is that not so? Are you going to send a letter to each of the people in Halfway asking for their opinion? Because that's fine. If not, well, could you answer that question first of all?
Right.
Yeah, it won't just be online. We're going to put stuff out through social media, yes, but and this has got to be discussed at the working group tomorrow. But the intention is there will be other ways of responding than just online. I don't know if Louise has more details of what we're hoping to put forward.
Yeah, so there will be paper consultation options available as well, so that residents who don't have access or might struggle with an online submission, that they can still complete the consultation and send it back.
My concern is that will those be popped through everyone's letterbox? Because if you really want Halfway to become parished, as it should be, somebody needs to organise the consultations going through each and every letterbox. And I've been round all of the houses in Halfway, and there's a lot of houses. So could all of the parish councillors, all the people in the area, volunteer to do a section? That would be great. If not, could you send out the consultation to each house, because it's an important thing.
I think we're hoping and expecting that borough councillors will be helping out deliver this stuff and getting this message across. I don't think we have the budget to send to everybody in Swale. Whether we have the budget to send to specific areas that are likely to be directly impacted, I think that's something we've got to discuss at the working group. Because it isn't just this consultation, it's the second consultation as well. I think the second consultation might well have to have direct household communication, because that would be a more binding result. Although, again, we haven't actually discussed that element of it yet. It is, of course, essential that everybody knows it's happening and that everybody knows what it involves and has a chance to reply. How we do that, I think we've still got to work out. We are hoping that borough councillors who support this will go out and help in their communities. And
I'm prepared to help, but I can't walk. I don't walk very well, so I could do some. around my area, definitely.
That's good.
I think I'm the only councillor actually that lives in Halfway. I might be wrong.
Any further questions from anyone? No? Okay, then we can close item 7. We'll move on to item 8 before we turn to item 6. So that's the local government reorganisation update. And we have our local government reorganisation project officer, Louise Galloway. If you'd excuse me. Yes, thank you. Please enjoy next door.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me along this evening to talk about local government reorganisation. I'm going to pop that hat on now rather than my community governance review hat as well. So lots of work going on at the moment. Before I start, I think probably most of you have either attended a meeting or heard us speak about local government reorganisation before. Is there anyone that hasn't heard us talk about it? Because there's a couple of slides that probably don't need to be repeated. No, okay. So if we skip to slide 3 then, because that was just the background there. So still at this point, you've probably seen the timeline, but it's useful now to kind of just look at where we are. So you can see that on the 28th of November, we submitted the business case to government. And from that stage now, we go to a point of, we probably won't be hearing very much on local government reorganisation for a little while, just in terms of whilst government review the business cases, but then they are looking to go out to consultation in early spring. I was on a webinar with a member of MHCLG the other day, and they said March 26. So hopefully that will be the case. And then we will have an expected decision on the chosen model by early summer, so before summer recess, about mid-July, hopefully. And then from then on, obviously, there'll be lots of work happening. We will be then starting sort of shadow elections for the new unitary in May 2027, with the go live date of the vesting day of the 1st of April for 2028 of the new unitary authorities. Next slide, please. So just some background really on the business case development. So Kent appointed KPMG as a strategic partner to work alongside Kent and Medway authorities on the development of the business cases. And then on the 3rd of September, leaders met to appraise geography options and agree which cases to take forward. It was agreed to take options 3A and 4B, and I will show you on the next slide the maps, the geographical options. But then separately from that, KCC agreed to take forward 1A, Medway agreed to take forward 4D, and Gravesham and Dartford agreed to take forward 5A. They all developed their own business cases separately. So we had 5 in total that was submitted. And then the business cases, if you did want to look at them all, they are available on the Kent Council Leaders website for you to have a look at. So you can see here, this slide probably isn't particularly clear just in terms of boundaries, but hopefully it gives you an indication of the different geographical options that the business cases have been submitted on. So 1A is a Kent-wide unitary with 3 separate area assemblies. And then we've got 3A, which would see Swale with Medway, Gravesham and Dartford. We've got 4B, which would see Swale with Ashford, Folkestone and Hythe. And then options 4D and 5A show a split. Swale would be split. So 4D, Swale would be split in 3 ways. And then 5A, part of Swale from sort of Faversham side would go with Canterbury and Dover, and then part of Medway would join with Swale to create that unitary authority, so 5 unitaries in the county on that option. Next slide, please. So on the 19th of November, full council met and agreed to support business case 4B, which sees Swale with Ashford, Folkestone and Hythe. And then over the next couple of slides, I'm going to talk through some of the key points and merits of business case 4B. So I won't read this obviously verbatim, but just to give you a summary. So option 4B offers a balanced and locally responsive model for the future of local government. It's large enough to deliver efficient, high quality public services, but small enough to preserve local identity, reflect historic and cultural geographies, and maintain those close connections with the communities that we serve. It aligns with the government guidelines by ensuring that no single authority is disproportionately large, and it ensures a fair distribution of key economic indicators and supports the councillor to electorate ratios within those accepted ranges, enabling strong local governance and effective democratic representation. Now, this next slide, there's a lot of detail on this next slide. So again, I will just give those summary key arguments. So establishes a single tier of local government. Option 4B is economically viable. The model brings together places with complementary strengths, ensuring no area is left behind. Creates a fairer and more resilient foundation for long-term growth. High quality and sustainable public services. 4B will enable community-based delivery so that different areas can design services around prominent needs and demands. Gives a greater sense of local accountability, and will also be able to focus on a system of early intervention and prevention. Efficiency, capacity and withstanding shocks. It creates balanced populations close to the recommended size. So when we first had the invitation from government, it was they sort of said a population size of approximately 500,000. And I think you'll see in all of the business case models that was a particularly hard one to kind of strike. But 4B creates that balanced population close enough to the recommended size. So working together to understand and meet local needs. Each new council reflects and respects the distinct local identities across the area. And it builds on established partnerships and avoids arbitrary boundaries. Stronger community engagement and neighbourhood empowerment. Option 4 creates more efficient democratic models, reducing duplications. And the model supports place-sensitive governance, balancing local responsiveness with regional coordination. And then on supporting devolution, so obviously at the moment there's no plans for devolution in Kent at present, but it was obviously important that was considered as part of the business case development for future arrangements. So 4B meets government criteria by creating balanced and sufficiently large enough authorities and supports effective devolution, enabling strong collaboration with a mayoral strategic authority. Next slide. So whilst the business cases were being developed, what we did in Swale was run a couple of engagement events with our key partners and the VCSE from across the borough, as well as member workshops and parish workshops as well on local government reorganisation. And I thought it was useful tonight to just give a summary of the feedback from those sessions. So the VCSE event took place in late September, and we asked our partners in that event to consider key factors of LGR, potential opportunities, problems fixed and possible problems created. The key factors, they was really clear that, we must understand lived experience and get residents involved. The unitary must have a clear strategy from the beginning, and always consider the impact on budgets. The opportunities were to do with and not to do to. This is a potential for a reset, and they asked, could a larger area give that stronger voice? The problems fixed was all very much around knowledge and resource sharing, and reduced duplication of services, and the ability to have everyone round the table, especially when you are looking at prevention and that early intervention work to support residents. And obviously the possible problems created, you know, residents' needs getting lost, loss of identity and local knowledge, and there was concerns that the funding wouldn't be equitable across Kent. Members' workshops took place in mid-October, and their feedback was around concerns around councillor numbers and democratic accountability. Again, recognition that LGR has potential to reduce impact on duplication, opportunity to deliver services different, to address issues that affect our place without complication of two tiers, and improved communication with partners. So I appreciate that was a pretty whistle-stop tour of where we are with LGR now, and a bit more detail there on 4B, the business case that was submitted on the 28th of November. Like I say, the business cases are available to read. I can't lie, they're really lengthy, obviously, rightly so, documents, but there is the executive summaries that go alongside those business cases. If you did want to look at anything in more detail, it's all available there. Again, you know, we're hopeful that the public consultation will go out in spring, and then we will hopefully possibly have an answer from government on the unitary models by July 2026. And happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Mike,
Can you say, ask for a shadow election is exactly, as opposed to a normal election?
Sorry, so ask what a shadow election is,
Yeah.
as opposed to a normal. So ahead of the unitary going live on the 1st of April, a shadow council will be established.
Yeah.
So although it will have no, and Emma's here to support if I get this wrong, but although the shadow authority will have no day-to-day powers over the running of the council, it will be part of sort of setting up of the unitary. I think I've got that right, Emma.
Yeah, no, you have, Lou. It's trying to form the new unitary as we're still running current services. It's going to be very interesting. So I imagine, Mike, it will be a similar process in terms of electing councillors. But I think, as Tom alluded to earlier, we don't know the makeup until they've decided the sort of map of Kent as to how many councillors that will be, who's standing and what wards. So there's a lot of things to figure out before that, which is why there's, you know, a lot of work to do once they announce what the unitaries are going to be, and more information will come out when we're clearer about that, I think. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks, Anna.
Councillor
When we had a look at the models that you put up on there were two models. One was from KCC, which was to keep all of the area together, and one was from Medway. So they are being supported by KCC and Medway, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So when we were asked about supporting different business cases, we were told that actually doing something like that would cost us extra council tax money. So I'm assuming that both the KCC model and the Medway model have been financially supported by both those organisations going forward.
Yes, I would assume that they've funded it themselves. It wasn't part of our fund with KPMG to develop those. The business cases that were developed with KPMG of 3A and 4B, that was the agreed funded business cases. Other authorities that took forward their own would have had to make their own arrangements.
Thanks, I just wanted to check that, sorry, just to make sure I was clear.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, is your hand up for this item or is it from the previous one? No, not this one. Okay. Anyone else in the room or online? No. Okay. As we know, it's not devolution, it's the reverse. They're taking power away from the people and centralising it. So
Centralution.
it's not the word. That sounds
The best I've ever done, so.
Thank you on the spot. Thank you for coming. You're free to stay or go.
Thank you very much.
Right, we'll return to agenda item 6, the Sheerness Revival Project update. And Emma Wiggins, the Director of Regeneration Neighbourhood, is going to present this update.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone there, and apologies that I'm not able to be with you tonight in person. Hopefully you've had a chance to read through the report that was attached with the agenda this evening that gives you a summary of where we are at with the 3 key projects. I think it's fair to say that for the Master's House and the college, completion December, students in by January is a really positive thing. I'm not going to labour on the points because I hope that you've actually had a chance to go through them, but that is really positive. I also would say that with the Beachfield project, the construction is ongoing. We've had a few issues that have been found whilst construction started. That means that the project is now due to be finished July, but that's still pressing ahead. We've had over 7,000 visitors to Adventure Golf, and that continues to be popular even now as the weather turns, which is really good. We will be expanding the paddling pool, the tennis courts and the outdoor gym areas again will be starting in terms of refurbishing of those, ready for the summer. The contractor has been taking part in various social value forums and engagement activities, which actually has been really positive. And students from Sheppey College, for example, invited to do work experience on the site, which is great. I believe if we can make it work, Janet, there is just a bit of a fly through social video that we can show you, just that's been on socials, just to give you an idea of where we're at. I think that's it, Janet, is it? I'm not sure how long that goes on for. Oh, no.
I think it had finished, Emma.
Is that other
Yeah, it's
slides?
to read again.
Oh, okay. So we'll stop there then, I think, and open it out to any people that might have any questions.
Anyone in the room have any questions or comments? Councillor Stuff.
So Emma, now that Slough has been designated by Sports England as one of the areas of interest for the country, will we be able to bring forward any news of whether that will mean more funding for projects like, for example, a new swimming pool or Sheerness running alongside this work at all?
So people may have seen the recent press release that was issued by Active Kent and Medway, which is a really positive thing for the borough. It's not something we're leading on, and it's actually funding that is around behavioural change, around getting people active. I will be bringing, or a report will be coming to Housing and Health in January, February time, just to give members an update on what that's for. That is not necessarily for Sheppey. I think it's a borough-wide fund, there is capital associated with that place pot. And I think we would need to be part of conversations exploring what that might mean. But certainly, as you know, we have constantly been looking for different ways to fund the pool at Sheppey. So all to play for, and I'll bring back some information once we know more. Thank you, Councillor Worcester.
So just to really narrow down on that though, if there are any conversations that are going ahead, can we ask that the town council is part of those conversations and that actually we involve residents at the earliest possible time to help show how much that project is needed and wanted by the whole of Sheppey? If that's okay?
Yeah, I think there'll be a programme of engagement across the borough as part of that. So very much community led, like quite a lot of these funding pots. I'll come on to the other one in a minute. Are going to be. So yes, certainly borough-wide consultation and involvement to figure out how to focus and where to focus the funding. And that will be a community-led decision, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Councillor Bowles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted that the Sheppey College has been extended, particularly with the poor level of attainment of some of the secondary schools in the past, and the training of young people to actually get useful skills. And I think Sheppey College is actually I'm very, very pleased that this is being extended. And of course, the other thing, of course, will be on the economics is the swimming pool, because I think Sheppey's economic situation has been absolutely dire for the last 60 years, and I'm probably the only person that can remember it. But it has been absolutely appalling, and if we can get something of that sort of strategic value, I can see that would be a very good way of bringing money into the town. So I very much support Councillor Worcester in suggesting that if there are any ways, we know money's short, it always is. But anyway, that's very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. My own notes are about the public realm in Beachfields. For years we've been told, oh, you can't have new bins and benches yet, you know, it's coming as part of levelling up. I'd really like to see them before the spring. I believe the paddling pool's due to open by the spring. I don't know where the outdoor gym's going exactly, but it'd be good to see that by the spring. New benches. We've talked it's about a journey. Obviously, we've got Master's House should be open by the New Year extension or the extra work. The Sheppey College extension should all be open by then, but it'd be nice for Beachfield projects to be ticking off a few milestones. And it's really good to see that we've got Sheppey College children doing bricklaying on site, and you know, the mock interviews and the career progression booklets. This is stuff we always want, the social value, the added value. It's really good to see. I look forward to seeing it all when it's complete.
Yeah.
Is there any dates, Emma, for bins, benches, outdoor gyms, you know?
I can feed that back, Chair, and see what dates are possible.
Okay, next we have online is Pat Sandel, please.
Hi, everybody. I've watched the progress in Beachfields and around there and been very impressed with what's happening. Can I ask a question? The 20 million that's supposed to be coming to the eastern end, is the borough going to be involved in that as much? Because speaking to our MP, he wasn't even sure who was going to go on the board to make decisions for us. And with all the devolution and everything else that's going on, I can see we're going to be told what we're going to get and not asked.
So with that, we're discussing that under agenda item 10. So Emma, if you can hold that answer until then.
Yes, we'll do.
Sorry,
James?
I haven't
No,
got the agenda in front of me.
That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. James?
Yeah, there's one thing that worries me about the swimming pool going up in Sheerness. We don't have a swimming pool in the east end of the island.
You've got dozens, they're just in caravan sites.
Yeah, well, you're not allowed in them. There's no public one, and you're gonna build another public one here. So why not use a public one here for its purposes? If it needs to be upgraded, fine, and give one for the east end of the county.
I think it's getting to the stage where we're a bit beyond its shelf life. It's sort of not taking over cracks, but not far from it. Perhaps at this
Yeah,
stage.
no, yeah.
Yeah,
It
but we
definitely-
have none. We need one.
Unfortunately, Paul's cost in the region of around £20 million, which could be one of the things you might want to suggest for the 20 million for East Sheppey. However, I would suggest that the facilities model that's been done by Sport England would allocate perhaps one to the island. We have one already that needs either refurbished or completely rebuilding, and that's been the focus and the priority for many years. I don't think funds are going to stretch to having two on the island, and I don't think, to be fair, that a pool of that size, you're going to get the usage of two. That's, you know, competitive size on the island, and there's modelling that's been done for that, I'm afraid. But I can appreciate why you've raised that as a point, and people do like to have pool space. Thank you.
So why not, instead of putting it in Sheerness, make a big change on everything and put it down the east end and make the people from Sheerness go down to the east end to it?
Let's see if we can get the money first, and then we'll get the location, I think, on that one. If there is nothing else on this item in the room, let's take a 5-minute comfort break, return at 2018, and we'll finish the agenda then. Break. agenda item 9, which is public forum. Borough Council, we have our own item, item 13 on the agenda, to bring our items up. But this is a public forum. Is any members of the public or parishes? I'll start with you, James.
Right, one of the things that's very, very worrying about the road going down to Warden Bay is we're putting 3 battery farms there. Now, that 3 battery farms will take up to 2 years to build, and there will be dynamiting parts of it. How do I know this? Because where I come from, they're doing it at the moment. What is going to happen with the road going down to Warden, as there's only one and there'll be closures? No ifs, no buts, it's going to happen.
So then, as far as I know, applications aren't in yet. Once they are, they'll be assessed. Obviously, KCC is a statutory consultee, and the roads are theirs, not ours, apparently, well, not ours as a public. So once the public consultation's out, that's the best time to put in comments, and we can go from there. Obviously, the parish council can reply to the consultation. Kent Fire and Rescue should respond as their statutory consultee for fire, and the local senior officer for Kent Fire and Rescue is the national lead on the Fire Chiefs Council. So they will also respond and advise. We should hear. So we'll wait for plan applications, and so they'll be judged on their merits and the decision be reached, and the parish council can call that into committee as well.
And if anybody wants the same knowledge as I have on it, and it's very interesting, look up the John O'Groat Journal.
Okay, is anyone else wishing to speak in the public forum? No, okay, we'll move on to agenda item 10, which is the Pride in Place programme. Emma, I believe this is over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Apologies, I can't see who is in the room, but I think quite a few of you may well have been at the Island Forum when myself and Larissa Reid and others came to talk about the Pride in Place programme previously. But for those that weren't, just a little recap on what the scheme is. It was launched by government in September of this year, and Sheppey East wards were awarded £20 million within the Pride in Place programme over over a 10-year period, and that starts next year, with the funding being passported through to the council as the accountable body in March 27. So we've got, it's a bit of a long process. Albeit I know lots of people are quite keen to get on and start. The funding has been awarded for various reasons to Sheppey East, but obviously quite a lot of that is based on data, and government will be releasing a data pack, they tell us, in the next couple of months to help the board, and I'll come on to that, the creation of the board, help them determine what targeted sustainable interventions, I'll say, the funding should be spent on. 3 strategic objectives for this funding: building stronger communities, creating thriving places, and empowering people to take back control is what's being quoted through the government programme. Now, there's a lot more that goes around that, so please, that's the high level, and a lot more obviously discussion to be had. But it is a really exciting opportunity for Sheppey East, and obviously there's been a lot of questions already asked. I know the MP has been in meetings, and there's been a lot of social media. In terms of the council's involvement, Pat, we are technically the accountable body, but what that means is that the funding from government will come through us. However, there will be a local board a neighbourhood board that needs to be established. And that board will be led by an independent chair. So there is a report coming to the council's Policy and Resources Committee on the 4th of February next year that will start to have that conversation around the how to go about an open and transparent process of appointing that chair, which is a vital role to help move forward the programme. Now, 10 years is a long time. So obviously, I'm sure that there will be different stages to the project, but the first thing that we need to be supportive in, and the government expect us to be supportive in, as well as the local MP, is to appoint that independent is a crucial word here, chair. We're expecting more guidelines and prospectuses and stuff. They tell us imminently, but they've been saying that for the last couple of months. So it might be a Christmas present, I'm not sure. But ultimately, I'm hopeful that by the time the report goes to committee in February, we will be clearer about what the government expect with regards to the job description of that person, how we can make sure that local people are involved in that appointment. And it's very transparent and open in terms of how that is that process is delivered, particularly with community engagement, open days, panels, different approaches to make sure that chair is the right person. The board will also then be set up, and again the chair will be instrumental in helping shape that board and who goes on it. But it's very clear that this is a bottom-up approach and that it will be very much led by the community. But also, you know, having people from the council probably supporting that, providing information, data to help that board make decisions about how to spend that money over the 10-year period. In terms of timescales, again, government have indicated that by spring next year, there might be what they're calling capacity funding. They haven't said how much, but that will be provided to help sort of kickstart the board and getting people in place to support that engagement process that we as a council have to take on, various things to kick the project up and running. Once the board and the chair have been appointed, which I think the anticipation is by the summer, there is 6 months between that point and getting what they've called a delivery or a regeneration vision and plan for that money together, which government then need to sign off. That's obviously anticipated, I imagine, then this time next year being submitted to government with what the plans for that money will be based on the data, the engagement, and all of the talking with local people that will take place. The anticipation then is that delivery funding will be coming March 27. So this is not going to happen overnight, but what I've been keen to say in previous opportunities where I've been able to speak to people locally is that it's very much something that needs to be done together. This is significant money, but it's not a huge amount if you think of it over the 10-year period. And really, in terms of, I suppose, sustainable, impactful change, that board's going to need to think really carefully about how that's spent and based on, you know, what's the best for that area. So, you know, that's no mean task. But also it is it's a massively exciting opportunity for that area of the island. So I will stop there because I'm sure there are questions, and I will do my best to answer them if we've got the information to hand, but more information will be shared. Janet, I couldn't remember when the next area committee is when that is, but obviously we will continue to involve people and go to various forums, and I imagine we've had more information at the next area committee. Thank you, Chair.
And the next one is the 3rd of February, so it's not too far away.
So it'll be the day before P&R. So the reports will be published, but the P&R meeting won't have happened yet.
Yeah.
Okay, Pat, did that answer your earlier question?
It did, but it didn't, because again, we had somebody, the £1 million we had 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we had someone leading on that who came from Sussex, and I'm not even going to go into the detail of that, but majority of the money went on administration, and we saw very little of it, improvements at this end. This is my only problem with it. Yes, are we going to get someone who with local knowledge to lead the board? That to me, and I think everybody else you speak to, otherwise the comments are just going to be negative again.
So I remember that, Pat. I think with programs like this, you're always going to need an element of project management to help steer and lead such projects, because without that, no matter who that is or where that's come from or paid for, needs to be a skill set that someone needs to have to be able to make these things happen. We all have them on all of our projects because within the council or locally, we probably don't have that skill or capacity. So I'm not going to say that there won't be money spent on what you call administration costs, but there'll be ones that are needed to be able to get this project up and running. With regards to the local person on the board or the chair of the board, well, this will be an open recruitment process. People can put their names forward and apply. The panel that will get to choose who that person is will be from the community. It will have the local MP, and hopefully we'll make reasoned decisions based on who applies. We can't make people apply, so please spread the word. But what I would say about that chair, it's a pivotal role. And yes, of course, they're going to need to know about the local area. But with any of these board setups and the governance that government will expect, they're going to need to have so much more than just local knowledge. They're going to need leadership skills. They're going to need negotiation skills and all of those things that I'm sure there are people absolutely within the community that can demonstrate that. I'm not saying that for a moment, but it's going to be more than just knowing the area. Absolutely, knowing the area is key, but it's not just going to be that, is it? We know what it takes to be able to deliver these things, and to be able to motivate and to collaborate with various different personalities on a board takes skill, doesn't it? You know this from being involved with parish councils back in the day. You know how it works, and we need someone that's going to be able to command that respect and that buy-in. So yeah, I think we until we know who applies and who, it'd be interesting. But I absolutely take your point, Pat. It's one that's been said before, and from previous experience, we've learned from that, and hopefully, we can move forward.
Okay, it just seems everything's happening all at once, doesn't it? It's driving you nuts because, us sitting here, we don't have to deal with devolution and everything else that's going on. So good luck with that.
Thank you. But I wouldn't be throwing the money away and saying, oh, we've got too much to deal with, so we won't have it, thanks. It's a real opportunity, isn't it? It's just, it all comes at once, but doesn't it always?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Emma.
Has anyone else speakers, Mike?
Yeah, from what you're saying, Emma, can we assume this is the board chair is going to be a paid role? And I'm concerned about administrative money coming out of this fund being chipped away, the money that's actually going to go to do good in the community.
I don't know if it's a paid role. It's something we're trying to feed back to government, Mike. It's not necessarily a paid role. That's something I think they're considering. It may well not be. I think my comment was made.
Sorry, we were told by the MP that it was going to be a paid role.
Yeah, I don't think I think there's been discussion, but I don't think it's been confirmed. But that's because, you feed back things to MHCLG and things change quite rapidly. So until that information guidance comes out to us imminently, I'm not saying one way or the other, because it could be, it could be not. But I think what my point around paying costs, Mike, was more around the project management and getting someone that's got the skill to be able to do this community engagement and all of that, rather than the paid chair role. But it is something we've pushed as to be clarified, but let's see what happens when we get the Christmas present.
Thanks, Emma.
The end of term reports, I
Yeah.
think we have been trying to be thrown out the last day of term, and good luck to everyone reading it over Christmas. Councillor Worcester.
So I was wondering if we could actually make this a bit more robust. So as Swale Borough Council is acting as the accountancy element of the program, is there nothing we can do in terms of adding a function to our own audit committee to make sure that we are actually got a way of transparently monitoring how this spend goes, so that members of the public can actually follow the process really transparently? So yes, I'm aware that the HR stuff would be silly not to be transparent over that, because you'll get a much bigger crowd of people wanting to apply for that role. But as it goes, I think Pat's point is really fundamental, in that people will want to see how this money is being spent, and it needs to be set up in a way so that people can just log on and find it and have data and catch ups like we do with the levelling up stuff. But if it's part of the money that we're going to have to monitor anyway, maybe we could ask a few questions about where that could sit. Could it sit with audit? Could it sit with a working group? Could it sit with a cross-party working group? And do we need to look at setting that sort of functioning up now, so that when these decisions are made, we're not on the back foot, we're actually being progressive and saying, actually, it's all there for you to look at every stage of the process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally does, Dolly. Something for us to consider. Certainly, the transparency will be there because we will have to report through back to government like we do with LUF. But it will be the board that will be responsible for that plan. So certainly some element of governance that way we can have a think about. So if you leave that with me, that's something perhaps we can cover in the report that goes to P&R.
So we wait on more information from government as usual. Okay. Let's move on to agenda item 11, which is 12 bus forum update. You see in your agenda packs that you have the latest minutes of the Swale bus forum. Are there any issues anyone would like to raise to our representative on the forum, which is Councillor Worcester? Any comments or feedback or?
So the few comments I've got, Chair, on this are really quick. So ACC are progressing with their spend that they've been given from government. All of the members on the area committee panel have given their responses in terms of needing that support for their local area. I've gone a bit further this month, and I have asked for councillor training around 106 agreements in terms of transport, bus transport, and how that feeds into our planning applications. And I've also asked for particular feedback to come back to the area committees, so that previously area committees were identified as a good place where parishes could actually receive updates in terms of like small amounts of training with regards to things like development plan things. And I think that the way that 106 money is looked at, calculated, where it's put into the process, because obviously up until recently we were funding grammar schools with island developments. That was obviously not very popular. And if we're going to make changes like that, then we actually need to be proactive in getting our ward councillors and that conversation started with 106 earlier in the process. And I think part of that positive conversation can sit around bus transport and how active transport sits in these developments as we go forward.
Okay, thanks for that. Linda brings her online.
As a bus user, I am concerned about the number of times that we've been left out in the cold recently, where they've just cut bus service, or it's very late. It's very uncomfortable when you're an older person standing out in the rain, So could we have a little bit more consistency in the and some reasons why the buses are suddenly cut or delayed, because it's not a good service that we're having on the island at the moment.
No, great. And yeah, let's get some feedback on that for the February meeting. Next up, we have agenda item 12, matters arising from the previous meeting. You'll find matters arising in the reports in the agenda pack. I'll whistle through them. Number one was health. I think we'd all still like to see a representative from the NHS England or ICB to attend and give us an update on health on the island. Is everyone happy that we invite someone to speak health?
Yeah.
I've got lots of nods. Second item was the Island Growth Board, which we agreed to refer to the Economic and Property Service Committee, and that'll be January 29th. Parsons' appointment went to the Environment Committee, and there'll be a working group, so we'll hear more about that at our next meeting. Household Support Fund, the guidance is due in January 2026, so further information will follow at our February meeting. Highway Improvement Plan, we'll get an update to be given by our KCC councillor, Maxwell Harrison. Okay. Heritage issues in here. Again, I think we do need an update, a physical update from one of our heritage officers to attend to in person. So that's 6, 7 and 8.
Yeah, there was a small update on that. The heritage is to be heard at Swale in January. So I received an email inviting me to the panel, which would mean that actually on the February meeting there might be an update in terms of new things that have been added to Swale's heritage list.
Okay, we'll look forward to updating that in February. Number 9 was the area committee review. Janet, did you want to say anything on this?
Yes, so this report says that the recommendations that the member working group proposed were going to the P&R meeting on the 26th of November, so that they did go and to that meeting and were agreed that they should go forward to full council for final adoption, but beforehand a couple of them would need to go to the Constitution Working Group just to check that the recommendations could go forward. One of them was on a change of name, and the other one was on voting rights, whether parish councils could be given voting rights on certain pre-arranged items. So both of those items need to go to the Constitution Working Group before full council. But hopefully we will get feedback on that at the February meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Item 10, public toilets, update public consultation. This item went for the Environment Committee, and what affects the island is the White House toilet is to be permanently closed in Minster, and other public toilets are likely to be transferred to interested parish and town councils. And I suppose we'll hear more on that as and when the council has it. One thing it says in here is that there was posters in the public toilet facilities. Obviously, with the White House being closed, I doubt anyone would have seen them if they were there. And item 11 on this is the local walking and cycling infrastructure plan, and that should be going before the Environment Committee at some point in the new year. At the Policy and Resources Committee, Councillor Harrison did make some good suggestions, one of which was we have NHS England here, or someone from the NHS here. And also, we previously had someone from KCC Education talk to us about school place numbers. It was Marissa. Whoever a replacement is, it'd be nice to hear again, because with the muck-up will be the polite way to put it, and we still have the issues outstanding, and I'm sure Councillor Moore was here. She'd tell us all about it. So we still have school place issues, and I believe it's predicted we're going to have school place issues next year. So let's have KCC here and explain to us.
Yeah, sorry, can we, when you're talking about NHS England, you need 2 people from NHS England, you'll need, potentially somebody from Medway Foundation Trust.
Yeah.
Because of the input that they have with our diagnostic centre and what impact they have up at the hospital. But for us, we also need an input from the community side of the NHS as well, and whatever acronym that's going under.
It'll change before I make it.
It really does. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but those 2 different tranches I think are really important, because Midway Foundation Trust at the moment are pushing for their resources to come back into community. That's great news. But when people want to talk about GP numbers and things like that, that doesn't come under NHS, the Midway Foundation Trust, that come under the community aspect. And they'll want to have both of those conversations, maybe.
And they're welcome to attend online if that sways their attendance. And also it'd be nice to hear whether it's from Active Kent or Sporting themselves about the funding work. So we should invite them to either our February meeting or summer meeting. Next up is local issues to be raised. Do any members have any issues they'd like to raise on behalf of their residents or community in general? Oh, sorry, Peter, you wanted to come on
No,
that?
that's all right. I was going to talk about education because
Yeah.
I've gone into that quite a bit. And I think we should have somebody from the Department of Education, quite frankly, because they keep getting their thumbs wrong. And they're the people who decide how many places should be allocated on Sheppey. And okay, we've only got 2 schools now instead of 4, which were the number originally, and an increasing population. So quite frankly, they keep getting their thumbs wrong. So it's the Department of Education who actually decide the numbers. And you know, so that's where it's coming from.
Just be glad they're not in
They
the
keep
treasury.
getting it wrong, yeah.
That's London.
Yeah, 2 really quick ones. The Keep Fit equipment that is up at the Lees, I think that could do with a bit of TLC.
Okay.
And is there any update on, I know we had some issues last year, but memorial benches along the seafront, I've had contact with a mental health organisation who were really keen on the motion up to the last council meeting and the mental health crisis that has been declared, and they want to put something either in Sittingbourne or, well, probably, I think they've gone in for Sittingbourne, but there's potential for another one to be funded on the island as well. If I speak to them, is if it's funded by somebody else, is that a possibility?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, excellent.
But hopefully we can pass them over to the Green Spaces team and get you an answer on that.
Thank you, Chair.
James?
On the education part, I believe that caravan sites who have people going to the schools are not counted as going to the schools because they're not residential or completely residential. They're only for 10 months or a year, and they're not counted into it. The other thing I think is disgraceful that kids off the island have to go to Farsham and are not bused, or at least bused and escorted there. They have to make their own way there. And I know Leanne would pick up on this as well, but why can't they be made accountable, the kids that go to the schools and are not in proper residential homes is the best part of it, you know, instead of on caravan sites.
Well, let's get the people invited here and let's get these questions answered.
Will they turn up this time? He didn't last time.
We did invite them.
Let's see what we can do. We don't have power to drag them here kicking and screaming, and we don't have a cell like
It's the officer chair that won't come and speak to us. If they're not coming to speak to us, it's because they're being told not to, not because officers go out of their way to say to people, no, we're not coming to explain ourselves, because most of those people that are in KCC education are actually ex-teachers. So they, in my opinion, every single one of them that I've ever met in 10 years of school governance are people that support children. So I'd actually say the problem may be political rather than officer based, but that's just an opinion. See you later.
Okay, agenda item 14 doesn't apply. Therefore, date of next meeting is February the 3rd, 2026, and it'll be here, and it's at 7 p.m. I close the meeting, and we still quarrel. Goodbye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that was in the room, and thank you for everyone online.
PTFN.
Good night, guys.